So where are you playing out of here?
So I'm playing in Orange City Poker in Orange City, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, full transparency. I'm pretty new at poker. Been playing like, once or twice a week now for about 8 or 9 months. And so just trying to learn and, get better and hone my skill.
Okay.
So this was sort of a weird spot that I'm just genuinely confused about what I should have done
Okay.
because of, yeah, what happens at the end. So, but we're playing 1-2. There's a $5 straddle.
Always straddle?
No, it's not always straddle. Under the gun can straddle or the button can straddle.
Okay.
And $300 cap.
300 max buy-in.
Yeah.
8-handed. And how deep are you?
So me and the villain are both pretty much right at 300. The game hadn't been going on for that long, so it's pretty new.
Boy, this is when you get into these straddle spots here in a game like this, especially if for some reason it got started off. I mean, anytime like you're a good player and you want to move up the stakes, it's always good. It's just, I can see that you must get into a lot of shallow spots post flop if people are opening at like 20 or 25 pre at 125. Yeah. All
Absolutely.
right. 300 effective. Okay.
Yeah. So for context, I'm in seat 3
Okay.
and the villain is in seat 1, and that's kind of important later on. And under the gun is in seat 6, and he's sort of like I see him mostly at 2-5. Actually, I don't ever see him at 1-2. He's mostly at 2-5. And I think this day he was playing 1-2 because he was just waiting for his spot at the 2-5 table.
Okay.
So he just sat down and was playing. But I get the sense that he's a very good player. I don't know for sure, but
You get that sense.
I get that sense. He's always there. He's always there. So.
All right. So does he enter the pot first here under the gun?
Yeah. So I'm on the button and I straddle 5. He calls.
Okay, hold on a second. All right, so hero is in the button straddle. Who's first to act when you button straddle?
The small blind is first to act. Small blind, big blind both fold.
Okay.
Under the gun calls.
So fold. So small blind folds, big blind folds. UTG limps, who is in seat 6. All right, so seat 6 limps. Okay.
And then seat 1 raises to 15.
So that's probably like maybe the hijack or something like that.
The hijack.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hijack raises to 15. So that's pretty small over one limp for sure. Okay, so hijack raised to 15. Okay. You call?
And I call.
What do you
And
have?
I have 10-8 suited.
All right, so hero
The
has...
suits don't really matter in this hand.
All right, so hero has 10-8 suited and completes, and then does the under the gun guy call?
Yes, he does.
All right, so hero calls at 10-8 suited on the button, UTG calls. So 3 ways, $50 pot. Okay, go to the flop.
Flop is 10-8 for rainbow.
All right, so 10 of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 4 of hearts, and you flop top 2. Okay. Yep.
Correct. Under the gun checks, hijack checks. So I decide I'm not gonna slow play this, so I bet $20.
Okay, so hero bets 20. Okay.
Under the gun folds, and then the hijack calls.
All right, so the pre-flop raiser calls, hijack check calls. Okay. So now it's 10-8 for hero with 10-8 suited, top 2. Now the pot's 90. Okay.
Turn is an offsuit deuce, completing a rainbow, so no flushes or anything.
All right, so deuce of spades, 10-8 for deuce, all rainbow. Okay.
The hijack checks, and so I bet 50.
All right, so hero bets 50 into 90. Okay.
Hijack calls.
All right, and you guys look like you have maybe like 200 to 220, like 210, 220.
Exactly,
like okay.
Right around there.
10-8 for deuce. You're looking good here. I mean, I would even though this is a non-hand call for the most part at the small stakes, it's interesting that he check calls turn because usually guys aren't checking over pairs here, like at a spot like this. So it's interesting. Like I wonder what he has. Does he have something like queen jack or like pocket nines and he doesn't believe you? Maybe pocket nines and 8. Who knows? All right, 190 to the river.
At this point, I'm putting, and I don't know, this may be a little preemptive, but I'm putting the villain on ace 10. Just because or king 10 or something that she's got something that is something with showdown value. I don't know, but this is probably where my inexperience comes in.
Okay.
But
so what's the river?
So the river is let's just call it the 4 of diamonds. Again,
there's a 4 that paired that was rainbow. Okay. All right, so you get counterfeit in the sense that you still beat a 10. right? Because you have 10-8. It's 10-8, 4, deuce 4. So you're losing to overpairs now, which still seems a little bit unlikely for me at this level, but okay.
Correct. So the hijack checks.
Well, if you haven't won a 10, you should be betting here.
Yeah. So hijack checks,
Yep.
and I just like, I'm gonna go for it. So it's a pot size bet, and so I put in the rest of the money. It's
Okay.
around $200.
So hero moves all in. Now, again, that's not the purpose of this call. I don't really mind the play, to be perfectly honest with you, because again, it's a situation where I don't see a lot of overpairs take this line at the small stakes. He might convince himself to call with like pocket nines because he doesn't like, he thinks like you're polarized because you're going bet, 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 and you beat another 10. So, okay, so you move all in. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
The villain briefly, she looks frustrated for just like a couple of seconds and then reluctantly calls.
All right. So hijack calls. Yep.
Yep, hijack calls. So I table my top two pair, and she like lets out a sigh like she's frustrated. And this is where it gets weird. So right before she mucks her cards,
You turn your hand over on the table, 10-8.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Right before she mucks her cards, she almost like lifts them up toward the other end of the table, toward the dealer.
Okay.
I'm like across from her, sort of, so I can't see the cards where she's facing them.
Okay.
And then she throws them into the muck face down.
So hijack sort of picks up cards. So probably some people might be able to see them. You can't.
Exactly.
I'm just going to put in the notes, possibly shows, it picks up cards, and some people might be able to see it. Some people,
if they're paying attention, yeah, they might have been able to see. I can't really tell from the direction that I'm sitting how much of the cards they would have been able to see.
But she never tables her hand. She throws her cards into the muck. Okay.
Right.
And
then the under the gun jumps in and says, and like loudly says, "Why did you fold? His two pair was counterfeit when the second 4 came out."
So he said, "Why did you fold? His two pair was counterfeit," right? Okay.
And he's sort of in a seat where he might have been able to see them because he's several seats down from me.
So an overpair. She had an overpair.
That's what he seems to think. So she doesn't say a word this entire time. So she sort of goes to reach back in the muck.
Reach back in the muck, huh? Oh, okay. Interesting.
But before she does, she just kind of pulls her hand away because the dealers sort of already started collecting the cards together.
Okay. So she tries to, but she doesn't pull them out.
Exactly. But she doesn't say anything.
Okay.
Like she doesn't say, "Oh, I had jacks," or "I had queen." She doesn't say a word.
Okay.
She just kind of shrugs and sighs and says, "Oh, well, forget about it." So then seat 6 loudly says to the table, "If you were a gentleman, you would give her half of the pot back."
So UTG says you should give half the pot back. You should give half the pot back.
And I said, "Well, why would I give half the pot back? I have no idea what her cards are." He goes, "You absolutely know what her cards are." And I said, "How am I supposed to know what her cards are when she mucked them and I can't see what she has?" He goes, "You know, if she's calling you, she's got an overpair." And I said, I have literally no clue what her cards were. And I felt terrible. Like, I felt like, am I doing something wrong? Like, is it so obvious to everybody that this player has an overpair and that I got counterfeit, on the second 4 coming out? And so literally for like the next 10 minutes, he's down at the other end of the table, just kind of like complaining to the seat 7 and seat 5 about the hand. And I'm looking at the villain, trying to get a read from her, trying to understand. I didn't ask her what card she folded. I didn't know if I should have. I felt.
All right. So let me give you my take here, John. So I am and then I'm going to tell you an anecdote. It's crazy like how much I've seen in my career, because I've actually had something like this happen to me before. Not where someone was chiming in, but I'll tell you in a second. I remember one specific hand, which might have been covered on a podcast maybe 10, 15 years ago or something like that on Deuce Plays. But so I am all for if I am a professional playing for profit, I am all for giving a break to a recreational player if they made some sort of insane mistake that was. I'll give you an example that I saw Ryan Feldman do on his own live stream. So if I made some crazy all-in bet, say I had like pocket tens and the board was like 10, 6, 6, I don't know, deuce 5 or some bullshit like that, right? And I had tens full of sixes, right? And I bet the whole way, and I moved in for a huge amount on the river, and a guy, like let's say an older guy, maybe he's got some trouble like seeing or something like that, calls like a $10,000 bet at the end, okay? And what ends up happening is he calls thinking he has a 6 in his hand, but somehow he didn't. He had nothing. He called all in with like 9 high, but it was obvious that he thought he had a 6 because he couldn't, like, his vision couldn't read like the cards or something like that. I think that's something that happened with Feldman. I would consider giving him his bet back or giving him the call back. This situation is different. This is a situation where she didn't table. First, let me lead off by saying you're not a professional if you're new. You guys are playing the smallest stake game. You don't have to give her a break. You're not like trying to grind this game out. You're new too. You could make this mistake too. So you and I are in different types of situations. But even so, part of the game is that you have to table your hand. This is different than mechanically not tabling your hand. And what I mean by that is I always say the argument, like there are some places that have a stupid rule where they're like, if a card hits the ground, it's dead. So you could have a situation where somebody is trying to table their hand and the edge of the card catches the felt and their card flips on the ground, but they have a winner. If I was that person's opponent and I could see that that person had a winner, I probably would split the pot. This situation is different. And I'm not talking about you not seeing the fact that she had an overpair. I'm going to actually make the assumption that she did have an overpair, even though you didn't see it, based upon the fact that she probably called, even though we don't know. She has to be able to read the board and table her hand, even if she had an overpair. So even if I was in a situation where I was a pro against an amateur, I don't think I would actually give the amateur a break here because she mucked her hand. So for you, you shouldn't give her a break. If she can't read the board, she can't read the board. Just like situations where I always talk about on CLP where I talk about blasting somebody off of a chop. In a certain situation, you might, we talk about in high-low games a lot, but it can happen in Hold'em. Like maybe the board runs out where the board is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, is that 5 cards? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And I don't have a 9, but I know my opponent doesn't have a 9, so I make some ridiculous bet at the end, and they fold, and they didn't realize that there was a straight on board. They have to be able to read the board. And they have to be able to table their hand. So I think that this is entirely different. The anecdote that I want to say is I had a situation happen like this exactly, where we got it all in before the river. I had 2 pair. My opponent had an overpair. I think I flopped 2 pair. My opponent had an overpair. We got all in on the flop. I got counterfeit at the end, like the river paired the board, like it went like running pair cards. I turned my hand over. She mucked her cards. She threw her cards into the muck. Okay. Then she went into the muck, grabbed her cards, and flipped over like queen, queen, or king, king. And she was actually one of the big recreational players, but I'm like, you can't do that. And commerce was such at the time, this was probably in the late 2000s. If anybody remembers the floor guy, Ash, I don't know, he had a mustache. I don't know if he still works there, but like she tipped him a lot of money outside the game. He allowed her hand to stand. She threw her hand in the muck, grabbed it out of the muck, turned it over, and he declared the hand live. And then these Euros at the table that were like, what's the big deal, dude? Like, she had the best hand. Why are you trying? I'm like, she mucked her hand. I'm not playing an angle where like, I'm saying her hand's dead because like it rolled over the table. She threw her hand into the muck. How can she win the hand? And then they allowed her to win the hand. It was crazy. Like I said, I don't remember exactly when that happened. But the point that I'm making here is for you as a new player, no, this is different, man. Like tell that guy like to mind his own business. The under the gun guy.
Well, and that's kind of what I just said, man, like I don't feel like I owe anybody anything because I didn't see her cards. Like if it's one thing if she shows me Jack and then mucks them, okay, like I get it. Maybe at that point I say, okay, I'll give you something back. But I didn't see anything. So for all I know, she has pocket nines and I still
Right.
beat her.
Well, I understand your point. I'm actually saying I don't think it matters. The example that you seem to be caught up on the fact that you don't know, which is true. But even in that case, John, if she turned up, I've got Jack, right? She turned it face up and then she mucked them. That wouldn't matter to me. That wouldn't make any difference. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be able to read the board. I'm sorry, you know? So now there were situations though too, again, we talk about this where you can't really, it gets frustrating. You can't really do anything about it, but you have a situation like this where, you know, maybe you move all in, she calls, or you guys got it all in before and she's holding her hand up and it's pocket jacks. She was going to muck them. And then somebody chimes in who's not in the hand. You have the winner. You see that on 4-flushing boards where like, it goes check on the river and a guy wins with a pair and then somebody else goes to muck their hands and someone's like, you don't have a spade? You don't have a straight? Or somebody say it was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and on the river it goes check and you table your hand and your opponent, and you're playing the board and your opponent who is also playing the board because you don't have a higher straight mucks his hand and someone might chime in, what, straight on the board. People aren't supposed to do that. But if they do, what are you going to do? Like most of the time it's not malicious. They just don't know any better. But in this case, no, man. I mean, like I said, I will give rec players like a break, like in that example I gave, but not in this one. So what did you do?
We just kept playing and that was it. And
so you didn't give her any money or anything. That's what I mean.
No, I didn't give her any money. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. No, I don't think twice about it. Don't think twice.
I didn't know if there was a standard like.
No, not in this case. Not in my opinion. Not, like I said, this is not a situation where something happened where the dealer mucked her hand. You know, like, you know, some sort of crazy thing. The dealer mucked her hand or she went to table her hand and one of the cards fell on the ground. This is a situation where she mucked her hand because she didn't realize that you got counterfeit. I'm sorry. That's sort of part of the game, you know? So thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.